Good morning and happy St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for the intro, Lauren. And, Michelle and I have gotten to know each other pretty well these past few days. Really excited about today and what we're going to talk about. Appreciate Brand Innovators putting on this great event and just inviting Premion to come back and host this fireside chat. It's exciting to be with Stephanie, who's just been unbelievable. What I've already learned from her and heard of what she's doing with the Blink Fitness brand is inspiring. So just to quickly share, I'm the head of national sales at Premion. We focus on the localization, targeting, and overall advanced measurement of streaming television advertising. It's really an area of marketing that many brands have turned and trying to reconnect with the evolving audiences that have shifted at accelerated rates from the pandemic. What we've seen has helped to develop what we've assembled here today for some really great questions with Stephanie. And I can't wait to hear from her and, share with you some of the trends that she's seeing, some of the marketing strategies that Blink Fitness has implemented with her brand over the past year. So without further ado, let's kick it off, Stephanie. Are you feeling good? Are you ready to you have your Irish coffee and, ready to go here today?
Definitely. I even wore my green shirt, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling spring.
I was planning to wear green, but then we did these virtual backgrounds for the event, and I thought it would look a little too Christmassy. If
You have a point. You might have a point.
But yes, the St. Patrick's Day is always a fun day of year. Lets us all have a little more relaxation in our conversation. So let's just talk a little bit about Blink Fitness.
Sure.
What you have seen from your role. It's a major national fitness brand with over 100 gyms across the US. Just let's kick it off with your role, the mission, the focus of Blink Fitness today.
For sure. So as mentioned before, I head up marketing and communications for Blink Fitness, which is a price value national gym. And we're continuing to grow and open gyms across the country, which is super exciting. I think the philosophy of what the brand stands for is a little bit different. We challenge conventional thinking around fitness and really focus on mood above muscle. What we're really celebrating is how exercise makes you feel versus how it makes you look. We're really the first gym to ever focus on body diversity and engage people who have felt discouraged or intimidated by that fitness, really truly the wellness journey, right? Like as we've all seen through this pandemic, how important it is to stay healthy and how important your mindset can be during this time. So obviously fitness plays a big part in your health and wellness journey.
Yeah, you talk about the journey and the overall mental wellness. I know we'll talk more about that, but that's an interesting piece that I know has been important for a lot of individuals as they've really kind of managed through the past year. I read a great article yesterday, how Blink Fitness CMO sweated out the pandemic. Wonderful article. I was thrilled to see you, showcasing more of the strategies that you've put forward. The pandemic has impacted the industry in major ways, and a lot of brands really pivoted during that past year. Tell us how you've reimagined, how have you reinvented your business?
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I love that word reimagined. And, obviously what happened to the country and to the world is really unprecedented. For our particular industry, it really accelerated us into the world of digital, because when the gyms closed, that brick and mortar, that, trusted place where you would go for your wellness journey, whether it was to lift weights or to run on the treadmill, was now closed. So what it was a big pivot for us. And we were very fortunate actually that we had launched an app in 2019. So our focus really became not so much about growing the member base, but it really refocused us on engaging with our current member base and providing the tools that they needed during this time of gym closure. So there was a period of 3 to 4 months where we weren't open. So the app was a really important vehicle for us. So it was critical to our resiliency and was really critical to the engagement of our community.
Yeah, you talk a lot about the member base there and resonating with them in new ways. Let's just talk more about that and help everyone understand, the core target for your gyms and how some of those behaviors changed. You mentioned the app, and what other ways did behaviors change with that membership audience over the past year?
Yeah. So, we keep sort of saying, the idea that the industry was upended by the landscape, and we had to come up with creative and innovative ways to engage our community. So with the app, we were able actually to provide three things. We were able to provide the fitness classes, so to speak, where we partner with some big brands like Active, Daily Burn, Swarkit. So we had ongoing classes. And then we also had a nutrition element, so people could go online, learn about nutrition as well as have access to recipes. And then finally, we also had rejuvenation, which was that meditation yoga element. So those three components were really a super strong foundation that allowed our members to really access and dive in and take it, take that mobile app on, on a run or a walk, and really have it as, an element of help on their journey during the closed time. So, and as we reopened, which is a good sign, it's super exciting that California just opened. So that was sort of the last of the closed states for us, just opened this week, which is really great. But we were incredibly thoughtful about how, when people were ready to come, our members were ready to come back to the gym, how could we make it the safest environment, obviously following CDC guidelines and local guidelines, but also how could we use the app as a tool to allow them to have more of a personalized, frictionless experience. So it became the gateway for allowing them to have a contactless entrance into the gym. It allows them, now you can go online and actually reserve time in the gym. You can also see how busy the gym is. We have a capacity tracker. So at any time of the open gym hours, it actually tells you how busy the gym is. And the last thing is, if you're not ready to come back to the gym, obviously there's all those things that we touched on, but we actually offer virtual personal training classes as well. So we're trying to think of, all of the scenarios for how people feel comfortable during this time. And obviously the cleanliness for both our employees and our members is our top priority. But we also want to, allow people to have the tools they need as they go back on their journey or continue their journey during this time. So
yeah, it sounds like personalization was a key element there in everything that you pivoted towards last year. And in our industry of television and specifically streaming television, we saw major habits change where people were no longer watching television at typical hours of the day. They were changing their behaviors. It was all about on demand and customization based on their personal situation. Did you also, in watching these behaviors change, see some of those adjustments in schedules? I mean, the app obviously allowed for people to work out at any time. Were you also seeing, the times of day that people were looking
for
to
sure,
change?
for sure, 100%. And I also love what you're saying about the live streaming element of it too, right? That became a very big component. Within 72 hours of us closing our gyms, we actually started to live stream classes Monday to Friday, where we had a personal trainer from our gyms go through, a 30-minute exercise, but we also had an engaging sort of, you could ask questions throughout the live stream. And so we've now actually incorporated all those classes into the app, and we're still running those 3 times a week. So we have about 125 of those in our portfolio, and we continue to sort of grow that. So it still is, it still is an important component of that sort of always on and available for when people want to do their exercise. I think now more than ever, as sort of people are figuring out what's the new go forward for working, or people coming back to the office, what are they doing? People are exercising and fitting in physical fitness at those times that are most convenient. So And I also think that we haven't hit stasis. So the relationship between brick and mortar and digital, we're still sort of, people are finding their way, right? Like, are they going to run on the treadmill using the app and then leave the gym and then do a yoga class later on in the evening after they've put the kids to bed, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think there is a lot of personalization that I'm sure you're seeing in your industry as well, that it's really about, the individual and their journey and wherever they might be as far as their fitness IQ is.
Right. And all the working from home and potentially in many cases that not changing, even as we come out of the pandemic, will probably continue to make that a different approach.
For
So,
sure.
okay. Well, so I have to at least stop and say, that we're in the midst of Women's History Month, and this is a brand run by a female CMO with a predominant, female audience, and you and your strategies to market to them, help us understand what matters to women and your approach today.
Yeah. Listen, I think it's an amazing brand because it has always stood for body inclusivity, positivity, and member engagement, right? And our focus is actually members, not models. So for our campaigns, that we actually use real members that participate in our gym and their wellness journey with us. But in this month in particular, we actually launched something called the She Can Challenge, which is actually right behind me. I'm super excited about what we're doing. And it's really about uplifting our employees and our members. And we're doing it through social posts and videos. So what we're focused on is empowering women and honoring the women in our lives, and asking, our employees as well as our members to participate by sharing a video or a shout out to those people that they want to honor, and we've been doing that now since the beginning of the month, and probably will continue to do this throughout the year, but the main focus has been right now in the month of March.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you've shared a lot of the trends that you're seeing coming out of last year. The priorities for this year. How would you really summarize the areas that you're focused, and how your message has really evolved in attracting new members now that we're starting to feel confident coming back into gyms and getting out again?
Yeah. So our priorities are the same as they ever have been in, providing a welcoming, clean, and inclusive environment for all of our members. But that said, COVID has obviously taken a toll on our members and the communities that we serve, from both, a mental as well as depending on anyone's situation. So we still continue to really focus on, what I started talking about in the beginning, that inner fitness, that mood over muscle, the impact of what happens to you in a gym or when you're doing your workout, no matter where it would be. So we continue to focus on that. It's still a big part of what we're doing, and the messages that we're sharing. I think more than anything, with the last of our gyms, the states opening, with California finally opening, that's 8 gyms that have now reopened. We continue to just figure out ways that we can support our members on their journey. So content has been a huge part of that. I would say, since the pandemic, and I think going forward, we will be spending a lot of time telling stories, whether it's from the point of view of our employees or our members, or the communities that we serve. We really are focused on creating that content and telling those stories. So I would say that our content strategy has increased 100-fold. And we're really seeing it as part of the lead in what we're doing around our advertising strategy.
That's great. You mentioned just that California recently reopened, and congrats, very exciting. I think everyone there is thrilled.
It's a year. It was exactly a year, so it's pretty incredible.
Unbelievable. So we watched last year, again, from our business, being very focused on the localization of marketing, being able to resonate with audiences, and adjust with the rebounding in each state as it started coming back. Do you expect localization to still be a big priority for you? And really, how do you approach that with your advertising and marketing?
Yeah. Local is the cornerstone of our business, right? Like, I think that people within 3 to 5 miles of their gym, it's really a community based organization and focus, right? The people that work in the gym, the people that work out in the gym, it's very local focus. So our priority when we open a gym, in a new community has always been to look for local partners, and community organizations that we can support, that we have similar goals and are aligned with. So often we'll give away 100 free memberships to a particular organization. We'll partner with local government organizations because we really want to be an important cornerstone of that community as we continue to grow. And once the opening is complete, we continue to maintain those relationships. Like, a lot of the work that our gym management team does is about nurturing those relationships with local organization. Our entire effort around influencers is actually a local based storytelling. So a lot of our UGC content that we collect is really identifying people that are members or potential members and encouraging them to be part of our community. So our influencer program is definitely 100% local, and especially during the time of COVID, social media has been an important place where we're galvanizing that storytelling. So to have the local element and be able to share those with those markets has been really pivotal for our business and for the communities that we serve. And then finally, we actually create these local toolkits to support the gym in helping them sort of encourage new members to come in and to nurture some of those relationships. So we're very similar in sort of, our focus and how important those, you and I, like our businesses, and how important the local business really actually is. So a lot of our, obviously a lot of our digital media is focused on targeting to these, local communities.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope we can keep all these states open.
I know. Fingers crossed, right?
Yes.
How do you think, I think there's a lot of alignment in what I'm saying and sort of how your company thinks as well about these communities.
Absolutely. It really is recognizing that there are nuances within each community, within each state, and being able to tailor messages today in a way that will allow you to really connect with the specific audiences in a market is critical. Recognizing that you may not have locations everywhere, and eliminating the waste in that marketing effort to hone in on the most precise audience possible is what we've really focused on, and why Premion has been well aligned, especially as people have taken new approaches, and in many ways where they could advertise previously nationally. Recognizing the increased opportunity to connect locally is more important than ever. So you talked a lot about social media and the app and how important that became for the Blink Fitness brand last year. In those new environments, you're getting a different connection with the audience. You have new insights and data that you're gathering. This is a changing opportunity for brands in finding first party data, if you will, the opportunity to own that data. And we have changes in the industry between cookies and IDFA that are pulling away
Yeah.
much of what we used to be able to do. So tell me about the prioritization. How are you using that data? Where are you looking to use it? And how is that changing your media mix? And if OTT is part of that, maybe what piece that has impacted your television evolving strategy with that data?
Yeah. So, I think, the focus of what my team is doing and really what the business does is the focus on the member experience, right? That's our priority. So how can we create the fitness journey for each of our members or potential members? So we always think about everything from that perspective. And I think the products that we've designed specifically in the app are really about understanding what are the tools and what's the content content that each member needs as they go on their journey. So obviously, from a privacy side, it's very important that we're aligning with the applicable laws and, the ever-changing landscape around privacy. And certainly what we're seeing with the platforms, it's never a day is something changing as quickly as it is right in this moment. But, it really begins for us with the member experience and how can we create that experience. But we also recognize that it's a value exchange, and the more that we understand about their experience, the better the content that we're creating can be for each of the members as they go on this journey. So a lot has to do with understanding their fitness IQ, their usage, the content that they find relevant to them, and ensuring that we highlight or curate that content and that experience too. And, also understanding things like, the patterns, like what you talked about a little bit earlier about, who's coming and who's going at the gym at what times. Has it, fundamentally changed since, pre-COVID, and, the busiest gym times of the day used to be first thing in the morning and end of day. And obviously that has really changed. But I would say that the most profound impact of this journey of, privacy, et cetera, has really been around the content creation, right? And being incredibly thoughtful about the kind of content that we're creating, the authenticity of the channel, and how people are using that content, right? Like we see our priorities are really that relatable, snackable, easy to absorb, and relevant content that people can use. So as we explore not only the current social channels that we're on, but things like TikTok is another area, another channel that we're exploring. We sort of first went on as voyeurs to understand how people are using it in the fitness industry, and now actually are running some tests around advertising. But for us, it's really the authenticity of the story, and sharing that story with like-minded individuals. So
yeah, no, that's incredible. And what I heard is just your ability to now tailor all of this based on those individual needs and desires.
Yeah.
But also what you're now gaining from an insight perspective of what the advertising is telling you of what's working and what's not is really interesting, and how you've adjusted some of the creative, how you've adjusted some of the content. And that didn't used to exist. You didn't have the capability to really hear back from the advertising and adjust accordingly. So, that's interesting. How else have you really kind of defined which of your marketing is working more than others?
Yeah, we pay a lot of attention to the actually organic behavior that can be very telling, right? Like, I can give you some examples. Like Facebook and Instagram, our followers are looking for quick exercises and routines that they can come back to, versus on Twitter or our blogs, they look to like memes as like top posts, and those memes are sort of mini exercises, but completely told in a different way. So from there, we begin to extrapolate, like, could that work in an advertising situation? So we're constantly testing and learning and kind of iterating from what we see. And we also pay a lot of attention to the sentiment, to the comments that come back on organic and within the communities, like on our Facebook local pages, really paying attention to what the feedback is and what they're saying. I think also our get up and blink from that experience in people's comments, it really helped us understand what people were thinking about, what they were focused about, and how we could make them feel less intimidated as they go on their journey. Because I think everybody's sort of at a different place, right? There's those that walk into a gym and know exactly where to go and feel comfortable, whether it's the weight room or the elliptical, and then there's others that sort of stand and stare and are sort of hoping that nobody notices them, and they kind of figure things out. So we really want to be people's partner in the journey and help them with the tools that we've created, both on the app as well as the in-gym experience.
Right. And as we talked about some of those changes and where everyone is adjusting it in different ways and getting comfortable coming back in, we felt like last year was those changes of behaviors. But where do you see the future of the fitness industry? Where is this going to go? What are the trends that you're starting to see emerge that will be long-term from this point?
Well, I think we've seen really an influx in people understanding how important it is, the physical fitness can be, on the impact of sort of mental state. We know that a lot of people coming out of COVID, just the impact of the isolation of the time period, and different financial implications that some people have seen, that there is an idea that this inner wellness, that fitness can be a really big part of it. And we've also seen and heard from the CDC experts how important fitness is in strengthening the immune system. So we do see it with people that are, now that the gyms are reopened, people, new members, there definitely is an influx of new members. So that's encouraging to see, just from an overall trend, that people recognize how important it is. And I don't think it's about the idea of unattainable bodies or, like this dream state. I think it really is about helping people just live a better life and do better in whatever their role might be, and making it easier to pick up their baby or be able to stay up later so they can help their children with homework. Like, I think it's all about sort of the human side of things, and helping people do their lives much better. So that is incredibly encouraging, from just sort of the democratization of the fitness industry and how important that all is. I think obviously another thing that we touched upon from the beginning is this idea of what is this new stasis, right? Like, how has digital has had a tremendous impact on our industry, and it obviously has accelerated certain behavior. I think, I'm definitely not a predictor of future, but I do believe that it is going to be an and, right? Like, it will be the brick and mortar gym, and it will also be an app or some sort of digitalized fitness. Like you and I have both been talking about how people's schedules have fundamentally changed, whether it's work from home or just the impact of, taking care of your children and also having your job, et cetera, et cetera. So I do see the app being a partner in the gym, and also the app happening outside the gym. So, very similar to a lot of the behaviors we sort of saw with, the omni-channel retail e-commerce experience. So I think it really becomes about the individual and supporting the individual on their fitness journey.
Oh, absolutely. And, I'm sure that the direction of the app will almost turn into a hybrid program. Some days in the gym, some days at home. And this is your new schedule that
Yeah,
you're working with.
I love that you said that, because that could potentially mean that people are even working, doing more things more often, which is obviously incredible for the communities that we serve. So that's a super positive outcome.
So it looks like there's a few questions that have come in, and I hope we have a couple minutes for those. But the last question I just wanted to, ask is just what you're most excited about. We have officially turned the corner. I'm making today officially the pivot, and we are moving in the right direction, ahead of the pandemic and putting it behind us. Tell us what you see this year as being the major pillars that are so exciting to get back to.
Yeah, I love first of all, just to share, I love your positivity. I'm feeling the same way. I think there's something about the time changing, more light, the St. Patrick's Day green, it's all good, right?
Right.
I think that I'm just really excited for people to have their support systems back, right? Like having the opportunity again to spend time with their loved ones, whether it's family, friends, et cetera. That, there's been a lot of people that have been isolated and unfortunately are in circumstances where they can't see their entire family or their support systems or their loved ones. So this idea of sort of people having that support back and being able to have that physical contact again is such a positive outcome of where we're going to land, hopefully sooner rather than later.
I couldn't agree more. Positive thoughts.
What about you? What are you thinking? What are you the most excited for?
We have seen in streaming television that last year accelerated this shift, and it developed such momentum in the OTT landscape, and for brands, it finally was the confidence that many of them needed to really shift budgets. We've known that the viewership was really ahead of the curve when it came to the dollars being spent in streaming television. Most of the majority of the money still being spent in traditional TV is now being recognized as the new area that they can reach audiences. It's been apparent through rating changes. It's been apparent through just the incrementality that's now being able to be measured in these new environments. And from an insights perspective, what they're able to gather, we talked before, just how you're, precisely aligning with different audiences, helping to resonate unique messages, whether it's either locally or based on that data. And then from that, interpreting those reactions, interpreting the results of those campaigns to adjust and to tailor your message accordingly. So it's an exciting time in television. It's exciting time specifically for streaming television's opportunity to help advertisers really connect in the right ways with audiences. So I think it's going to be an exciting year. We're moving in the right direction, and we've got the momentum behind us. So
that's awesome.
So a few questions came in that I think we have time for, and Lauren, cut me off at any point if we start going over. So the first one here is a great one, and it asks, what brands do you look up to? What are the leaders in marketing that you most admire?
Yeah, that's a great question. I look at a lot of different brands, inside and outside of the fitness industry. Obviously, coming from well, not obviously, but in my prior life, I was in fashion and retail. So there's a lot of overlap now with this idea of lifestyle brands and how people are thinking about that full picture of wellness. So I definitely do spend a lot of time kind of looking at those bigger brands, whether it's the Lululemons or the Nikes or, Outdoor Voices, just thinking about how, when you're committed to someone's fitness IQ, how does somebody spend their sort of full journey and their full life? So there's a lot of sort of just looking around and understanding how people are thinking about lifestyle in general.
Absolutely. Those are some really incredible brands. I've seen, some great things in the ways that many of them have also adjusted and really come out ahead with showing their leadership in these times. So
Sure.
Another question was related to your team members, right? A lot of people probably started working from home. I'm not sure if you lost anyone during last year's challenges, but more so just how are you making sure that they continue to feel engaged and inspired in this world that we're in?
Yeah, I love that question. I mean, my team is my number one priority, right? In everything that I do and everything that I think about around Blink Fitness, because their health and wellness is our health and wellness. So my philosophy has always been better together. And I think that we have done that better together by just having more touch points than we normally would potentially in the office. So we actually have daily check-ins where the team or different teams, whether it's the creative team or the brand team, spend time together checking in, as well as obviously checking in on the business. So as a team and as a function, we check in once a week, and we have sort of our personal wins and our business wins of the week. And I think there is that sort of tapping in and having people reflect. But I also spend a lot of time individually with the people on my team, making sure that they have the support that they need, not only to do their job, but also in this period of time where some of them have been isolated from their families, that they feel like they have the support that they need to get their work done and to stay healthy and feel good in their inner fitness. So I definitely come to it from that better together, but also from a very empathetic. It's how I sort of lead my teams and think about their wellness.
Yeah, it all goes back to what you were saying earlier about the importance of that mental well-being and realizing how every individual's needs may be in a different situation. Some people really have been more isolated than others, and
For
just
sure.
connecting more regularly, finding a way to reach out more often and use the technologies, the power of the Zoom, right?
Yeah.
That allows us to check in more regularly today.
Yeah. And I also encourage a lot of them to take the time that they need, whether it's a half a day or a couple of hours, whether it means walking in the park or just kind of zoning out. Like I am really encouraging that kind of thoughtfulness about, and having them take care of themselves too, and, focus on what they need in order to do their job and sort of live their lives during this time.
I agree. So another question came in regards to emerging technologies.
My
Just
favorite
asking,
topic.
so where are you focused? How are you determining where to spend your time regarding those emerging technologies?
Yeah, I'm spending a lot of time right now in something you and I talked about at the very beginning about the impact of privacy, what's happening with the platforms, new regulation, all of that, in being really thoughtful and ensuring that, we're obviously following all of the privacy, but more importantly, we're also being really thoughtful about that member experience. So I think right now the journey is really about personalization and what kind of tools do I need in my marketing tech stack to be able to do that work. So that's where I've been spending a lot of my time.
Not easy. There's a lot
No, it's not.
to
It's not.
follow.
It's exciting. I think it's exciting because it's definitely a watershed moment. And as I'm sure you and your team are doing, just watching the platforms, ensuring that you're staying up with sort of the latest and the greatest. But it also requires teams to think differently and in a cross-functional way. So I feel fortunate that I'm truly aligned with my tech partner and my legal partner on this journey. So that also has been incredibly helpful for us to sort of stay ahead of it.
That's great. All right. So I think this will be probably our last question, and it's kind
Sure.
of a fun one. It is, as everyone has talked just about how you're, as a marketing leader, reaching your audiences differently. How are you as a consumer engaging differently with brands? How have you changed your own approach over the past year?
Um, I think I'm spending a lot of time on TikTok.
It's an addiction.
Too much time on TikTok. Obviously the impact of e-commerce, right? And that acceleration of behavior about, I have a farm in upstate New York. And so I'm not doing my city living right now. So it's incredible about how much I have really relied on the internet to, for all of my food shopping, working or getting food from local farms. And, everybody's got their own sort of contactless way of doing things. So I often wonder if am I going to go back to sort of in-store grocery shopping, or am I going to continue on this journey of doing it online? I know for sure being up here, there's nothing better than a farmer's market and walking around and having sort of that access, farm to table experience. But at the same time, I just wonder how much of what I do is now going to be really that online, as far as thinking about those things that might be easier to do online, like the food shopping or things like that. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, in many ways we've adjusted and we're finding new preferences in the new approach. Things
yeah.
can be easier or more convenient. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
agree.
Things like my banking app have come in handy because
Right.
do you know what it, like just things I wouldn't have thought about before the pandemic. The fact that I can
Right.
deposit a check from my app is pretty incredible, especially, where I am located right now. So
I agree. I completely agree.
how about you?
This,
What's changed in your, I'm curious about.
that's interesting. I would agree with many of the things you mentioned. We, have gained a reliance on to-go meals over the past year, and it's amazing how many of the restaurants really upped their game on the take-home off-premise serving of client or of their customers. So that really was something that we enjoyed over the past year, and I can see that continuing because I think a lot of them have gotten very good at delivering that. We had during holidays, large catered type to go packages from certain restaurants, and I think those were things that restaurants thought differently. They thought, how do I customize something, because people are not getting together with their family and friends.
Yeah, you're right.
We can't cook a turkey for 12 people, so let's give them the mini turkey as a take home. And I
Yeah.
think things like that really were great to see. And that loyalty, I think, really developed with many of the local establishments last year. And so I personally just enjoy when local brands have gone out of their way to really develop something special for the community. And I think that's things that we'll continue to really embrace as time moves forward.
Yeah.
Well, this was amazing. I am sure that everyone really enjoyed your feedback, insights, strategies, the trends that you're seeing, and how you as a leader are navigating through that. I just want to thank you for your time today. It was great to talk with you, get to prepare for this, and learn more about Blink Fitness. So thank you.
Thank you too, Justin. This was awesome, and Brand Innovator as usual. It's awesome too to be working with you. So thank you all.
Agreed.
I'm classically on mute there. I just want to say thanks. Both of you have been on our stage. How many times have you guys spoken with us over the past year?
A handful.
3 or 4. Yeah, a handful.
Yeah, it's wild because it was like about this time exactly last year that we went without our first physical event in the virtual world. We pivoted 3 weeks later, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah, I actually remember being scheduled for something this week last year, and it got delayed, and then
No, we didn't want to say. Yeah, we were like, oh, we'll make the call soon. And then, I think once official South by made the call, we felt more comfortable saying, okay, we really don't think this will happen. So I was actually going to ask you a follow-up question, like what was for both of you kind of doing that 12-month look back, what was like the one thing that happened where you knew everything was going to be different? What was that one thing that didn't happen or happened and you're like, okay, something big is happening here?
You go ahead, Justin. You go first.
Yeah, no, I mean, when major conferences that were well known started getting canceled, I think South by Southwest was the first major conference that got canceled. That was a big eye-opening moment of this is serious. People are really not going to be getting back together in person for some of these things. And so I think that was the moment for me. That was the changing moment. But then when we started experiencing